combine going on. And one of the combine winners, without question, is wide receiver for LSU, Brian Thomas. Now, we know Malik Neighbors and Jaden Daniels decided they are not going to work out. They're saving up and going to work out at LSU's Pro Day, which is coming up at the end of March. And look, there's a lot of love out there for Malik Neighbors, man. It is not hard to find people that are backing Malik Neighbors from a talking head standpoint. This is not chatter on teams trying to put smoke out there to keep Marvin Harrison around for later picks. This is people out there that are really debating on whether or not who is the best wide receiver in the league. And you hear some of these cats break it down that do this for a living, and you can see where people are torn. And this is the same thing like we were talking about in hour number one. I don't want to discredit, I was not discrediting Caitlin Clark at all. She's a fantastic, phenomenal player and will always be thought of one for that. And while you're talking about somebody else, you don't want to discredit anyone else. I mean, Marvin Harrison, what a play! Whoever gets him is going to get a potential All-Pro, a potential Hall of Famer. I mean, just with his capabilities. And there's real debate on who to take, whether it's him or Neighbors. So Neighbors is in the discussion as maybe the first wide receiver off the board. Jaden Daniels feels like he's in the discussion as maybe the number one pick. Now, it feels like Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears are heading down the aisle together. But Daniels is a name that consistently pops up in the top three. You'll have a chance to see those guys at the end of March. Brian Thomas, you never heard from him, and look, from a guy that's from right outside of Baton Rouge, he's from Walker, came to LSU, played for 3 years, now going through the draft process. I mean, we can all agree, Thomas a pretty quiet guy, right? I mean, we've all heard the story. He was the game's MVP as a true freshman, as a freshman in high school for the Class 5A state championship game. As a freshman, he's the MVP of the game. He goes on to become one of the country's best wide receivers at Walker, one of the state's best players. I mean, I remember Will Wade when he was coaching LSU, and we were talking about state's prospects when Brian Thomas was like a junior in high school, and was like, who are you looking at? And it was Jalen Cook. And he would go there to watch Jalen Cook play, and he would say, the bad part about it, he's not even the best player on the team. We're talking about Cook. And then he would say, in all honesty, Thomas is the best player in the state, but he's not considering playing basketball. So, I mean, to give you an idea of the athleticism that Thomas had in high school, he was arguably the state's best football player, and according to the state university's head basketball coach during his prime recruiting year, he called him the state's best basketball player. So he goes on to lead the country in touchdowns and become the best number 2 wide receiver. I don't even consider Jefferson.
Yeah, that's where you get into the debate.
Because the numbers say he's a 1A.
Right.
So, I mean, he wasn't.
If you throw that team out the window.
I mean, the numbers say Brian Thomas is a 1A.
Yeah, 17 touchdowns.
He led the country in touchdowns.
That's true.
But if you had to, I mean, that's not a bad problem to have if you're LSU. You go down the list of Jarvis, LaFell, Early Doucette, like whoever you want to put, Devery Henderson, whoever you want to put at that 2 mark for those years. You had Jarvis, and then you can obviously fast forward to Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. Like, that's LSU. That's why they're starting to get that run as wide receiver U, because, I mean, this is going to be another class where you put out potentially 2 first-round picks at wide receiver. And, I mean, you don't get it wrong with either one that you take. Obviously, Malik is the clear-cut one as far as draft goes, but in college, I mean, Brian Thomas pretty much did everything you would ask. If Malik wasn't there, he would be a 1 on pretty much any other team.
I mean, you saw it in the bowl game.
Yeah. I mean, Malik was there,
but he wasn't
but
there.
It was the BT show.
Right.
I just think that, he is going. The potential of him in one of these offenses in the top 20, of putting him alongside a dynamic quarterback and or another dominant pass catcher is, I mean, the potential of Thomas in the first, in his first contract is scary to think about just because of the type of athlete that he is. I mean, the 4.3 he clocked. First off, he slips off the start. I mean, he kind of stumbles. Here it is.
Right there.
And then, look, he's gliding.
So I'm saying, keep going.
See, sometimes I wish they would keep that clock going, obviously aside for the 40. But half of them are going faster that next 10, 20 yards coming off the line.
That's where you see, obviously they're doing a 40-yard dash because that's what it's always been, but it's to see, basically it's simulating a go ball. I would assume, their first, 25, 30 yards off the line, that's when you're getting, those are the big play yards. But for Brian Thomas, if you look at when he's getting going after at 45, 50 yards, that's game-breaking speed, which I can take any ball you throw me to the house. That could be a slip screen, anything. It doesn't take very long for him to get going, and then when he does, he pulls away from people. And I don't know if you got the whole Brian Thomas experience just because of how quickly it happened.
Yeah,
his freshman, sophomore year, it was flashes, but the junior year was I could see why they put together a plan for him to come back, but you also had to know that, brother, if he gets on the big stage, if he gets to the combine, I think he's pretty much betting on himself. He's going to make first-round money and be a first-round pick.
Right.
And, I mean, I would love to see him in this LSU offense because you needed proven pass catchers. They got some through the portal. But I think if you had inserted him into the lineup with Chris Hilton, Brian Thomas, Aaron Anderson, that just gives you so much more stability. Instead, they had to go to the portal route, which I'm sure people are going to be interested to see how that works into LSU and what they do going into 2024.
Yeah. No, Brian Thomas is in a great spot, man. I mean, really. And I really believe that he's played himself into the third best wide receiver in this draft. I mean, really by the numbers. And then you turn on the film of, him in every sense of it. I mean, I'm trying to think I know he had the drop against Bama. Mm-hmm. But I'm trying to think of.
Drop against Bama.
He had the first down drop, hit him in the hands, and he dropped it early in the game. But then he didn't drop any more after that.
Talking about this year?
Yeah.
He really was. He was real quiet against Bama this year. I think Bama kind of put a plan together to take him out the game because Malik hit him early.
Yeah.
Malik was hitting him early and often, so I think they had a plan to just take Brian Thomas out the game.
Well, that's typical Saban.
Right. Give him one of their weapons, but don't give him both of them.
Right. Just annoy him.
Yeah.
No,
I'm trying to find the numbers in which he put up against Bama.
I mean,
3 catches for 36 yards.
Yeah. See?
Along the 23. But then that's with no Jaden Daniels. He's going to hit you over the head at least once.
Right.
But Malik went off. How about Ladd McConkey?
Yeah.
He made himself some money.
I think people still don't believe the time. But I just looked at a mock that didn't have Brian Thomas in it. I just don't understand how you can take
It
somebody.
doesn't have Brian Thomas.
Yeah, it was
in
a PFF mock. I was just looking for one.
The crazy thing is he's wide receiver 1.
He's 6'4".
in literally any other
4'3".
class. He's the first receiver off the board. Any other year.
I mean,
it just has to be it's almost like a narrative because he wasn't talked about. He didn't have they had Malik that was always the one.
Sure.
Romeo Odunze, it feels like he could compete with him if you put him up on the same field. He's not going to be the third wide receiver taken or the second wide receiver taken just because the narrative around Brian Thomas. But if that combine didn't open up some people's eyes,
Right.
But I mean,
What was the official on McConkey?
4.39.
4.39.
He's gonna
Yep,
be
4.39.
He's gonna go L.A.
Yeah.
to the Rams.
Oh, of course. That's the new Belichick, right? Of give me a short,
Give me a white wide
give me
receiver.
a twitchy white wide receiver. Cooper
But
Cup,
but the thing-
Puka Nacua, and
but
Ladd.
Cooper Kupp didn't run 4.39.
No, he just had.
None of his latest white
they're all big
receivers
body.
ran 4.3.
Right, no.
Ladd McConkey impressed a lot of people.
What's Puka run?
Puka ran like a 4.6.
Yeah,
Damn.
Puka
Like a
had-
4.67.
Route runner. But the thing with Brian, he's going to, if he drops, into the middle of the first round, he's going to go to a situation that's much better than those
No doubt.
top 5 picks.
No way he could hang
Yeah,
with KC.
I
though.
mean, I'm reading this Pro Football Focus one.
They'd have to
There's no
trade
way.
up.
Yeah.
But now if he drop, the Saints are at 14, but who knows? He's an LSU player. They're not going to draft him. Cincinnati's at 18.
That would be.
That's the ticket.
Wow.
That's
Now
what I want. That's what I
Now,
want
if
to
he
happen.
doesn't run a 4.34, they probably get him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now it's you look at some of these teams from pick 8. Atlanta's going to probably go quarterback. So you have Chicago at 9, Jets at 10, Vikings 11, Denver 12, Vegas 13. I don't really know if that's any of
Don't
their
go to
needs, but
Vegas.
it's probably a position where they're just like,
He'd be fine though.
You talking about Brian Thomas would be
Yeah.
fine in Vegas?
Yeah.
I don't have a quarterback.
Yeah, but I'm
I think
saying,
he's talking about off the
Yeah,
I
field.
was talking
Oh,
about like from a personal
yeah.
standpoint. You got to worry about.
Well, I
that.
mean, you ain't got to worry about that with him. He doesn't even talk.
No.
They be trying to talk to him. He's like,
Home.